I must admit, I absolutely love the Rode Wireless Pros. These are the easiest way to get good audio.
In Mexico, we have a rich culture of the art of embroidery. And since I was a little girl, I had a passion for fashion. I wanted to combine both creating fun and unique hats and also wanted to support local women by giving jobs.
You just saw an extract from a recent brand film that I did where I used the Rode Wireless Pros. In fact, after using them, I enjoyed them so much, I ended up picking up another set for myself as well. The set here I have to review though was from Rode, and they did send me to test and review. However, they have no say in this video whatsoever. Now, why do I like using these sorts of mics so much, and particularly the Rode Wireless Pros? Well, for me, it is all about the convenience. It's all about the compact size, easy to travel with, yet still produce great results without any real concern. I used the Rode Wireless 2s for a long time and the original Wireless Go's as well, but this was really a big upgrade over those two for a few main reasons. First up, we have 32-bit float. This is a big upgrade and I'm sure you've heard all about it now. It's effectively raw for audio. In the internal recording, it keeps it in 32-bit float, so if there's any issues with the recording that's going into your camera, then you can easily go back and just use that to adjust the levels. What's nice about it is impossible to peak the audio or to accidentally set it too low. So you're not going to be lifting up that noise floor that you would do traditionally if you had the volume too low on your microphone recording. But equally, if you peak and it's too loud, well, it's fine. You can recover that. It's not going to be a problem whatsoever. Now, I personally just use these more as a backup rather than relying on that audio, just because I can't be bothered to do all of the syncing. That said, it does have timecode in these as well. So if you have a camera that can have a timecode input, then you can use the Rode Wireless Pros and use the 32-bit audio recording synced up to your camera. Personally, I am just a bit more lazy though, and I prefer just plugging the receiver straight into the camera and using the audio that is recorded in camera. And I just use these as a backup rather than relying on that 32-bit float. I also like to make sure that I'm also listening to the audio through my headphones. Ultimately, no matter how good 32-bit float is, it can't solve any issues where you start rustling your microphone or perhaps you hear a weird noise in the background. Ultimately, you're going to have to still use headphones to keep an eye out on those kind of things. A big upgrade with these over the previous Rode microphones is the fact they now come with a case which you can charge them in. This is extremely useful indeed. It means you can just plug in one cable, USB-C, into the case and charge the receiver and both of the microphones as well. What I like about this is because the case has a built-in battery in itself, when you're out and about and you're shooting multiple interviews in the day and you keep placing them back in here, it just tops up the charge all the time. It's very difficult to turn up to a shoot with a Rode Wireless Pro set and discover that the batteries are dead. That is probably never going to happen because of the way the charging works. One nice upgrade with these is the inclusion of a locking jack for the microphone. So if you want to plug in a lapel mic, which is included in the set, well, these actually lock in place like other professional microphone systems out there. This is a big upgrade over the past, which all the previous ones didn't have that. And although I never personally had a problem, I was always a bit concerned that perhaps a client would suddenly jump out of their chair, maybe pull on the microphone, whatever it may be, and you may not realize that the mic had come loose. Then of course your audio is going to come from the microphone in the transmitter rather than the well-placed lapel. Speaking of the lapels, well, I think if you want to get the best sound quality, then I think that is the way to go. I personally feel that the sound quality of the lapels is a bit better than the built-in microphones. However, I do like having both options. It basically means you've got a backup built into the system. That's a big plus compared to older systems that are out there, more professional systems that are out there. Yes, this may not have the ultimate sound quality that some of the other systems may have, but actually just having reliable backup options when you're out in the field, for me, is more important. And I think that brings up a big important point about sound quality and whether these mics are good enough. We've seen these sorts of mics become so commonplace across the industry, across online, all the media that you watch nowadays. It just seems like Rode Wireless Pros, DJI mics, they have just become such a standard. And to be honest, I think that's great news. It means that we got quality across the board when we're watching content, because audio is so important. Even content creators who really aren't into filmmaking are getting good audio thanks to microphone systems like these. And I think that is awesome because it just means the standard is better across the board. I also believe that the sound quality of these is more than good enough for most corporate work. Yes, they're not going to provide you the ultimate sound quality that an expensive boom mic is going to provide in an interview. And some will argue they don't like seeing the microphone in the screen. That said, I think you have to balance all of that with the reality of the situation, the reality of the job, and ultimately what you're trying to provide the client. I think the vast majority of people who are using microphones like this are likely working on small crews, on shoots with limited budgets where you don't have a sound operator. And in those scenarios, something like this is extremely useful. Yes, it's not going to produce the same quality that a proper setup with a sound operator is going to provide. That said, for the vast majority of work that I think we all do that's going to just appear online or is going to be used internally by a business, well, for those situations, these are more than good enough, but provide so much more convenience, backup, and ease of use compared to other options you could go with. I'm all for trying to get the best production quality all the time on my shoots. That said, you have to balance it up with the business costs and the effort that you have to put into it. We really should think more business-minded as creatives. We should think, actually, what is going to make my life easier to complete this task while still making the client very happy? And that's where microphones and pieces of equipment like the Wireless Pros come in. This is a test of the Rode Wireless Pro with the lapel microphone attached. This is a test of the Rode Wireless Pro using the internal microphone. This is a test of the Rode Wireless Pro with the internal microphone underneath a shirt. This is a test of the Rode Wireless Pro outdoors using the wind muff on the lapel microphone. So as you can tell, I am big fans of these microphones. However, they're not perfect. There's definitely a few things that could be better with them. First off, they are still large compared to the competition. I love the size of the DJI mics, and I know that Rode have released other variations like the Mi's, and we see plenty of other competition with really tiny microphones out there, and they don't need to be that small, to be honest, but I think compared to the Mic 2s, these are a little bit large, and it would be nice to have seen a bit of an upgrade when they went to the Pros. Because of that size, if you're using these straight onto someone's t-shirt or shirt, I do find the extra weight of the Pros can sometimes weigh down a person's shirt and just look a bit ugly and a bit frustrating. I've seen people bring this up all the time, and the fact that these have built-in batteries that are non-replaceable is a real negative. And I do agree to a certain extent that it is frustrating, especially with these Pro models. They haven't got a replaceable battery. It would just be good from a sustainability standpoint to have these batteries replaceable. That said, I have owned the Go 2s and the original Go's for a very long time, both since they were launched, and both are working fine like they were from the day one. I've not had any issues with batteries on any of the systems, so I trust that these are going to last just as long. And to be honest, even if they did provide a replaceable battery option, would we actually go with it? Would we actually use them? Or would we just upgrade to the next wonderful, great system that they release? These still also run on 2.4 gigahertz, which of course is the same as Wi-Fi, so there is a risk that you're going to get interference with them. That said though, once again, I've not had any issues personally with these microphones and interference. On all the shoots I've done, whether it's been at close range or at a distance, they've worked flawlessly. I had no problems whatsoever. If you're using these in a very busy, congested Wi-Fi environment, then perhaps you would start having some dropouts and some issues. That said, I think in the vast majority of situations that you probably would use these mics in, these are more than good enough and hasn't been a problem whatsoever. Corporate interviews, things like this, something that's in a same room that you're shooting in, I don't think are going to be a problem. The last thing that's a bit of a shame is there's no really good way of mounting these onto a mobile phone. I like how the DJI mics can just quickly swap out that adapter and suddenly you can attach it to a mobile phone very easily, which is something you can't do with the Rode Wireless Pros. So speaking of that competition, well, I think there's only really one direct competition. Of course, there's many different 2.4 gigahertz wireless microphone systems out there, and this isn't comparing these to all of those. These are obviously at the top end of that market, and really the only competition to them is the DJI Mic 2s. Now I've actually got one of those. I got it with my Pocket 3 and it is very good. It works very nicely. I think the sound quality of the Wireless Pros is slightly better, and I do like the fact that you've got things like the locking jacks on the microphone attachment, as well as those lapel mics and all the accessories that you need to run with it as well. That said, I do like how small the Mic 2s are. I do think that is one big advantage over the Wireless Pros. And also, like I said before, it is much easier to use it with other devices like a mobile phone. And obviously DJI have also got that nice and neat adapter where you can go straight into a Sony camera without needing to use a cable as well. So there's small little advantages in terms of functionality that DJI do have over Rode in those areas. So who should consider picking up the Rode Wireless Pros? Well, I think pretty much everyone who does filmmaking or anyone who does any sort of content creation should seriously consider picking a set of these up. Having two microphones going to one receiver is so convenient. I didn't even mention that. The fact that, you know, suddenly you have to do a two-person interview or a podcast or whatever, these are great for that. They can directly connect to the Rode Podcaster, so you can do live podcasts without even needing the receiver. Lots of really nice integration going on there, and hopefully they can continue to add that to their system. The reason why I say all filmmakers should be picking these up is even if you don't like using these sort of mics, even if you much prefer using a boom mic and you've invested a lot in your audio equipment, I think these are great backups. At the very least, just having these in the bag, because they're so small, could save you one day, and that's why they're worth having. That said, if you want to be specific about who really benefits from these sort of mics, well, it's kind of the one-man bands. It's the small crews. If it's a 1 to 3 man crew who don't have a dedicated sound up, well, I think this is where these are really vital. If you're out there shooting weddings or doing a lot of corporate work or a lot of travel where you've got to think carefully about the amount of kit you're carrying, then these are unbeatable. That's where it's been so great for me, having a kit that is so small, that doesn't take up too much space, but I bring with me just in case we want to shoot any interviews anyway. Back to that extract at the beginning of this video where I showed it being used on a brand documentary. The reason I took these with me to Mexico is because they took up hardly any space. I knew I could get great audio with them without needing to lug a boom mic with the pole and the light stand required to make it all set up correctly, not to mention all the cabling as well. If your content is ultimately just appearing online, it's going to be consumed very quickly, or you just don't have the luxury and time of setting up a boom mic, then it's really hard to beat this as an option for your audio in your professional productions. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, as it massively helps me out. And if you're interested in picking up one of these mic sets, then there are affiliate links down in the description as well, which also massively help out the channel. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time, and here's another video you might be interested in.